Hey, you guys, this is the Couplings Fire podcast. Here's a couple of things you might need to know, or maybe you just forgot. I'm Taylor, a volunteer firefighter and also a firewife to my favorite firefighter. Join me as I talk anything and everything fire related. I don't claim to be an expert, I just love to talk fire, and I'm not afraid to get into real and deep discussions. Everything I say is my own opinion and does not reflect the opinions of any agency or organization I am associated with. Let's get on with the episode. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Couplings Fire podcast. I am so excited to bring you this one tonight. This one is going to be a blast. We are going to be taking rabbit trails. We're going to be finding squirrels and just chasing after them, apparently, from what we've just been talking about. It's going to be great. I am so excited. I have with me Corley Moore from Firehouse Vigilance. Hi, Corley.
Thank you, Taylor, for having me on. I'm super excited, and I'm just as curious as you are where this is going to go.
It's something I was talking to you before we started recording of just how much I love rabbit trails. I love going into whatever we talk about, and it seems like you're very much a person to do that too.
Yes.
And we have a few topics we're going to hit, but we're going to just see where the conversation takes us tonight.
It's going to be a good time.
Score. Okay, so let's start out nice and simple, easy. Who are you for those who have not heard of you yet?
The short answer is I'm the luckiest person in the fire service. That's what I tell people every time. I'm the luckiest dude in the fire service. And longer answer is I am the host of the Weekly Scrap, probably what most people know me from. And it's a weekly podcast, weekly live show, kind of a hybrid that people, firefighters particularly, tune into. And I get to have interviews with the coolest people on the planet every week. And for whatever reason, they keep saying yes, and it's really awesome. So like I said, super lucky. I also run Firehouse Vigilance, which is just the never-ending fight against complacency and its social media presence, and but you can see, I think I got to point the right direction. Hats and shirts and swag, with the mutts don't scrap, etc. And I travel around and teach, and I write books. In fact, I'm super, like I said, squirrel. Super excited because I just got these in this week, which it says on it not for resale, but it's I'm very excited, but I'm also frustrated because there's a lot of stuff I want to fix now that I've got it physical form. So it's closer, but it's not close. So anyway, it's that bittersweet. Yes, I got it in my hand, but no, there's so much to do on it. Anyway,
it's so cool. I remember taking that class at Les Lukert this last year, and yes. I'm really excited to see it in book form.
It turned out better than I thought it would when I had the idea to turn the class into a book.
Mm-hmm.
And then now this next pass should really take it up that final notch. So we'll see.
Oh, good.
I try not to be the person that says it's never ready. It's never ready, and I never get it out there.
Yeah.
But did I cover everything? I think that's everything. Like I said, the unbelievable part is the network. Like I now know you. Me and you are friends. You can pick up the phone and call me and text me, and
which is crazy in my head, just by the way. So
that's exactly where I come from, because I'll have an idea and I'll text Frank Viscuso or even Kurt Isaacson or whatever and say, hey, what do you think of this? And it's just crazy that I get to do that now. And I'm like, who am I? It's surreal, but awesome. Like, it's awesome. The network and all the people that are amazing in this profession, this calling. It's crazy what they have in common and how genuine and authentic they are. If you're not genuine and authentic, you're not one of them. That
mm-hmm.
makes sense.
It makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense to everybody else listening, but it's just, I don't know. You can tell when you're not being genuine and authentic. I feel like it's been a theme lately that I've either been hearing or talking about with other firefighters here lately. Just, you have to make sure that you are you. You're not trying to copy anybody else. You're not trying to be what everyone wants you to be. You have to make sure that you're actually coming at it from a way that makes sense to you. And people are either going to like it or they don't. I mean, honestly.
No, and firefighters particularly, I think, have a ability to smell BS. And mm-hmm. they have the sniffer that's like, I don't know, something's not right here. They're very good at it. I think they're skeptical in general.
Oh, yeah.
Just as a starting point. So go from there. But no, it's amazing the people that I get to call friends now. And like I said, I'm the luckiest person in the fire service for that reason.
Oh, that is fantastic. So I want to dig into, I love seeing where everyone comes at from different points
into the fire service. It is still cool. I came at it from a weird path. My husband came at it more traditionally, it seems like, but like everybody comes at it a different way. So Corley, how did you find your way to the fire service?
Honestly, I was never one of those people that was always going to be a firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
No, I always thought it was really cool when the fire truck blew by. You know what I'm saying? I always thought that was awesome. Like that would be something to be cool to do. But I was never like, I'm going to be that when I get older. And so I was 20 years old. I had one 1-year-old and another child on the way with my wife. We'd been married a couple of years, and we were young, dumb kids who I worked a job. I think I made $6.75 an hour.
Okay.
We had an apartment, and I'm sure now that I'm older and have kids and worry about my own kids, and I'm sure that my father was like, how is this guy going to make it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How is he? Yeah. Is this what I raised? You know, and I'm not that I worked hard and everything. I always worked hard, but it was, he was actually one of the fire chief was in his Sunday school and said, hey, we're getting ready to hire if you know anybody, you know, just typical fire chief talking and recruiting. And so my dad came to me and was like, hey, you should try out for the firefighter. And I was like, okay, what do I got to do? and I honestly, my dad's a Baptist preacher. Like I said, he was a Sunday school teacher at that time. He's been a Baptist preacher my entire life. So I'm a Baptist preacher's kid. And I am not shy about my faith or anything, although, but I think everything happens for a reason. I think there was a plan, because I got on the first time. I was very young. I just finished playing football. I was taking the ACT a lot because I'm not a college guy, but you know, that's what you're supposed to do. So the fire service goes in these cycles of, hey, we want to hire, you know, huge athletic grogs that can get stuff done. Well, wait, so we're having lots of problems. Let's hire smart people that are, and then they just swing back and forth. They can never just find a medium.
They really do that, don't they?
No, and I caught the time when they were really putting a lot of emphasis on test scores, and I did really well. I'm a reader, and I was taking a lot of tests then, and I'm just naturally good test taker, not to toot my own horn, but I was, and so I really crushed the written test. I was in good physical shape, and I got on the first time I tried out.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
I say all that is because I like I said, everything happens for a reason, because if I hadn't, I don't think I'd be a firefighter today. I wasn't that person that was going to try out 20 times until I made it.
Mm-hmm.
I would have bounced. I wasn't mature enough, or I didn't have enough of a vision or a plan for my life to stick to anything like that. And so, but I know that I was supposed to be a firefighter, and God had a plan. Everything happens for a reason. And so that's why I'm a firefighter now. And then the rest is, then I had to learn how to grow up and be responsible.
That's always the next step, isn't it? You fall into something and you're like, oh yeah, I have to actually be mature. And then once you think you are mature, you're totally not. You realize later in life, oh no, I was still a child then. Like it was so bad.
And the fire service, it's a great place to be an immature young person. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
It's with it, especially where the culture and everything at my fire department at the time was an awesome place. It was like like a frat house, for lack of a better, not like that we weren't responsible or didn't take care of business, but it was a perfect place to not be responsible. And so it took a lot to, if you would have asked the people I hired that were around when I hired on in 97, you know, and I'd be a battalion chief now, or doing what I do, or who I am, they would laugh and lose paycheck after paycheck on the bet, because of how little care I had for the job and respect for it and everything like that when I was younger and immature.
Yeah.
So for life, you know what I'm saying? I was young and cocky and knew everything, you know, so much different person than I am now, but that's the journey.
That is the journey. And like you were saying, everything does happen for a reason. It's something I totally believe. And I mean, I've seen it with everything in my life, especially the stuff that's been happening in the last couple months. I don't believe this stuff is happening. The connections I was able to make this past weekend at Texas at the Lake, all that happened for a reason. I don't know why, but it was just one thing happened that led to the next, and you take the opportunities that come by and you don't let them pass you by. Absolutely. You know, and it seems like that's been going so well for you that somehow it's working. And I'm curious where it's leading you. I'm curious where my path is leading me. I wish I could figure that out sooner rather than later. Not necessarily God's plan, but
I know that for me, everything, like I said, everything, like I'm in like I tell the guys at work all the time, I'm in a very special spot right now, because I had kids when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
So right now my youngest now is 22, then I have a 24-year-old and a 26-year-old. So I've got 3 kids and they're all adults. And so they don't require any attention from us other than like not bonus, whatever you call it, just attention that we want to have.
Oh yeah.
It's not like they need us. And so I'm free and we have no grandkids yet.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like this perfect window where at the drop of a hat, I can fly to South Carolina or Oregon and travel and teach. And there's no, a lot of ramifications that other people would have to pay, missing their kids or missing grandkids. I'm in this window and right now it's just taking full advantage of it. Cause I don't know how long there's going to come a point where, hey, are you going to go to this conference or are you going to be around your grandkid?
Yeah.
And that's coming. And so I'm trying to take full advantage of the freedom and until more important priorities come along. So I don't want to say like, I'm not looking forward to that. I really am. So.
Oh, no, I completely understand it. Well, I've actually been somewhat terrified because eventually my husband and I are going to have kids, right? Like that is the plan. And we've gone 10 years of marriage so far, almost not having any kids, which I'm going to be honest, has been nice. We've been able to spend time, a lot of freedom. I can go to all these conferences. I can do all this stuff. It's fantastic. I am a little scared about having the kids because it will take time away and it will be those battles that I know everyone else deals with. And it's just, I don't know. I'm hopefully I'm ready for it. I don't know. We're going to find out at some point, but you
got your head on straight. You'll be ready for it. You'll be awesome at it. And like everybody, you'll strive to find that balance.
Oh yeah. I'll probably drag the kids with me too. That will definitely happen, at some point, but
no, absolutely.
That's one thing I love about the fire service, though. If I were to bring a little kid or a baby to one of these conferences, I don't think anyone would bat an eye.
It was great. I was at Bearers of the Oath, and we actually took a picture with him having a Mutts Don't Scrap hat on. Didn't have baby shirts, but I did have some baby shirts. But there was a newborn with the firefighter mother that was there and took the reflexive readiness class, the entire class.
Oh, that's fantastic!
It was pretty cool.
Okay, so
the youngest person to ever take the reflex. And it was one of the best kids ever. I wish I could remember the name. I'm so bad at remember, but absolutely no distraction to the class whatsoever. It was a phenomenal kid.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So if people are listening to this, if you are, if you're having trouble and you can't make it to something because you have kids, okay, maybe not like make sure they're well behaved or do your best to, or whatever, we don't want kids like running everywhere, but also don't let it hinder you from going and getting the training that you need.
Absolutely. No, 100%.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, cool. Yes. Okay. So we'll get it more into family talk and all that stuff towards the end. But I mean, we could just keep talking about that forever too, but
absolutely. Yeah. There's no telling where we'll end up.
So let's get into Firehouse Vigilance, the bulk of it all there. Okay. So why did you start it? How did it come about? What is the story behind it all? What's the purpose behind it all?
Oh,
I know it's a big open question.
I'm trying to unpack it. Where did it start? I think it started with just my infatuation with reading, and I love reading. Like I read every day. I tell everybody I try to read 1 hour per day. I have a stopwatch on my phone that every time I start reading, I start the stopwatch, and when I stop because that 1 hour per day, that consistency on it is super important to me. But not the point. My infatuation with reading, I would get all of these ideas in my head, not my ideas, they were other people's. But and I wanted to share them really, really badly because I knew, like, even in my own department, I knew they would help different issues that were coming up, you know what I'm saying, or training or tactics or leadership philosophy or culture. And I really wanted to share them. And so I started a blog, and I want to say around, I think it was December of 2018. And of course, this is after blogs had kind of run their course and were dying on the internet. So it was perfect timing. But,
of course.
But they really didn't get any traction, especially in my own department where people are like, who do you think you are? And so it's like, but it was actually, and I told this story before, but it was actually my wife. She's a realtor, and she said, hey, why don't you go on your phone on Facebook Live, and instead of writing your article, just talk about it. And me and all my wisdom, I'm like, that's so dumb. Like, and so anyway, but it sticks in your brain. You start thinking about it. So I did those first 10 scraps. They were literally me on my phone, I think it was all on my phone on the little like snake stand in front of my computer. And they're terrible. You can find them on YouTube. You can watch them.
They're terrible, but go find them.
Yeah. They're like 10 or 15 minutes long. The audio quality is terrible. The camera work is bad. And this was before Zoom and everything else. So it was just me going live on the Facebook phone.
Okay, so all of us podcasters, I'm pretty sure the first episodes are terrible, no
Oh,
matter
yeah.
what they are. I cringe when I see that more people have listened to the first episodes. I'm like, no, don't start there. Start
Don't
like
judge
halfway
them.
through. Go to
Yes.
like episode 50 and start there. Like
No, in fact, I didn't even put out the first 10 in podcast form. Like, I think I started at number 11 or 12, I want to say, before because one thing I said early on is, this was how dumb I was, is I was like, I don't care about quality of the audio. I don't care about video. It's all about content,
Yeah.
And then I realized how hypocritical I was, because when I get on my phone and go looking for a podcast and I start listening to it, and if it starts off with crappy audio, I'm like, next.
I'm not going to deal with it.
I don't even judge the content, so that's super hypocritical of me. And I want to say it was the Fit to Fight Fire, not John Spira, Tom Johnson came on, and it was just terrible audio and all sorts of issues. I was using new equipment, which for me is always a minefield and danger.
Yes.
Until I get it dialed in. But I said, I'm never going to let this happen again, and that I think it was about episode 28 or 29. And I've really worked hard on the quality of the audio, which, because it's a live show, there's a lot of grace. Sometimes it's just choppy and just, the mics some people use aren't the highest quality.
Well, it's hard too, because you can't tell the guests what to use. I mean, it's just, you're at the mercy of that.
I always try to say, hey, what are you going to be on? And like, okay, we'll try your phone first. We'll try your laptop. Have some earbuds around, maybe some AirPods, and we can try those and see what will get us the best sound. And we usually have a 15 to 20 minute sound test before we go live. But even with that, sometimes it's hit or miss. But because of the live aspect, I think I get a lot of grace from the listener.
Yes.
It's like, hey, it's live, so you got some issues sometimes. I've had some nightmare episodes where like Chief David Rhodes, when he came on, he was the ultimate like super trooper, because my internet just kept dying.
Oh yes, because didn't it like stop like 2 or 3 different times?
Yes, and he'd come back and he'd plow, and I expected him to come back and like be like, hey, when you figure out how to be professional, let me know. But he was 100% like, and he came back another night to finish up. And it's super just the quality of their character, and how good they are, genuine they are. So but no, that's some of the nightmares, and some of the stuff behind the scenes. Sometimes when I'm distracted running the scrap, it's because the sound has gotten off or something, and I'm turning them down every time they talk, and then I'm turning me up, or whatever, and I try to make it where no one notices, but I'm sure it's very distracting.
Well, I see you look off sometimes, and I'm always wondering, are you trying to read the chat? Are you trying to look at your questions, or what? I'm honestly, I'm always wondering, like, what are you actually doing behind the scenes during all this?
So originally it was on Facebook Live, and it was pretty simple because I would read the chat and it was right here in front. So when I'm looking over here, I'm looking at Facebook chat and just catching up. When I'm looking over here, I'm looking at the Zoom, and of course I swap it on the overlay.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking over here, I'm actually looking at the guest. So right now I'm looking away from you, but
okay.
Live, it looks like I'm looking at you anyway on the scrap. I could the behind this, but no, I have my laptop set up over here, and Kyle Romagus logs into a Google Drive document, because at first I could keep up with the comments, but as it has grown, it became impossible. I'd miss too many questions. So what he does is he goes through and he finds the best questions and he copy and pastes them into the laptop.
Nice.
And so they pop up. So whenever I'm looking over there, I'm looking for the questions that Kyle says, hey, you need to ask this question.
Nice producer.
So, absolutely. He is the de facto unofficial / official producer of the scrap. And he's getting ready to come back on August 9th. He's coming up again for another fantastic episode. So it's going to be good times.
Have to tune in for that. I don't know if I'll be able to tune in live for that one, but I am a big lover of the replays, because there's too many I cannot come to live. You do too many a week. Well, not a week, it's weekly, but like you do too many, which is the best thing. I love that you do that many.
Man, again, consistency is what I love, that people can count. At first it was just, especially when I started out, I was like, okay, what day can you come? And it was like, I'm open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday this week, whatever days I wasn't working. And they would throw a dart and pick a day, and it was all over the place. Now I try to do it every Monday if I'm not on duty. And then the days I'm on duty Monday, then it's on Tuesday.
Okay.
So that's the way I try to do it now, so it stays super consistent. Now there's always exceptions. Frank Viscuso just put out his new book. And so I reached out to him and said, dude, I'd love for you to come on and talk about your new book. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. But I was booked up solid. So he's going to come on a Saturday or Friday night. I'm not sure which. and that'll be really. But he'll be out of sync for my money. But anyway, sorry. That's
no, you're fine. You're fine.
How my brain works.
No, I love hearing all of this. It's such a different view of it. And like, it's very different from the way I run the behind the scenes of my own podcast. You know, it's a very different format. It's not live. Someday, who knows, maybe I'll do some live ones, but you know, I record this with you on this night and I make sure mine go out on every Friday. You know, it's still consistency, but I can put a couple different people, you know, like 2 nights in a row, or I've done a couple where I've done 2 in one day, which I'm never doing that again.
Right.
that was intense the day I did that. But it's nice because then I can, you know, stack them up. And then, you know, if I am gone, at least there's still something going out. But it is that consistency. And it's not just with the podcast. I know I want to focus on the Firehouse Vigilance stuff and Weekly Scrap with that too, but it's consistency with everything. You're talking about consistency of reading for an hour a day. You know, I know that especially if those things you're so honed in on the consistency, that's not the only thing that you're consistent with. No,
I'll be 100% honest with you. I struggle with consistency. I know like it's this dichotomy because I know it's the secret to life. Like I know it is the absolute secret to success. And then I like the gym. I want every day I want to get in and lift weights. And every day I'm off duty, I want to make it to jiu-jitsu and roll. And so those are the things I know I want to be steady and consistent in my diet, you know, but damn it, I love sweets so much. And so I would love to sit here and tell you I'm this paragon of consistency. Now, the 2 I'm really good at is reading, and I'm very consistent on the reading, and I'm very consistent on getting the scrap out every week. Yeah. If I'm in town, the only time I've missed my daughter's wedding, I didn't put one out that week. And then anytime I'm at a conference, I would love to be able to make it mobile and like do a scrap from a conference, but I'm just not. And we've done that, but it wasn't me. It was the conference that did the technological side of it and made it happen. And when they can do that, it's awesome. But I can't show up with a bunch of equipment and make it happen. And
yep. It's kind of like the ones I just did that I put out actually this morning. And quality was pretty terrible on audio and everything, but you know what? I was still happy I did it, you know, stuff like that. But like, oh man, it was terrible. I probably won't.
And you had such great opportunity for those guests and stuff, you know.
Oh yeah. I mean, so next time I'm going to come prepared, of course, but like
everything starts somewhere.
No, with the consistency, it is so important, and you see the importance behind it. And I think that's a good way to say it, though, that you're not consistent with everything, but you want to be. And I think it's the momentum is easier to keep up than just trying to start from zero every time you screw up. I mean, if you're able to even try to keep that consistency of the reading, of working out, of whatever else it is, it's going to be easier to keep doing that every day or every week or whatever you have it on. Because like, I mean, it's just like everything else. I get out of sync of a workout. I mean, going to Lake of the Ozarks kind of screwed up my routine for a little while. And I was like, what am I going to do? And it was so hard the first day to push myself back into working out. Now I've finally gotten to the point a few days later, I'm back into that momentum again. It's not that bad, but man, that halt just sucks.
No, 100%. Even like days off, like my fire department schedule rotates. It's 24 on, 24 off, 3 times in a row, then 4 days off. And so when I hit on a Friday, like my jiu-jitsu gym is closed on Friday. Not closed, but they don't do the noon class on Friday. And that's the class I love. And so on Fridays, I don't get my jiu-jitsu in. And so and then especially when I work Thursday and Saturday. So Thursday there's a class and Saturday there's open mat, but Friday there's nothing. And I'm like, but I'll hopefully go to the gym, lift some weights, get on the stair climber a little bit. Hopefully. That's the plan. And I'm pretty good at it. Pretty good. I'd say pretty, but the vigilantes, which is the group that, you know, the supporters of the scrap, there's a private group where we go in there and we have discussions. And one of the discussions I brought up was consistency over intensity, because it's the way my brain works. As I say, which, you know, is consistency more important than intensity, which now that I've analyzed a lot, it's like 100%.
Oh yeah.
But that doesn't mean intensity doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you can do a 2 every day. Although a lot of people can't even manage a 2 every day, but if you can stay a 7 every day, it's way better than a 10, than a 3, and a 10, and then nothing, you know, but consistency over intensity, and be intense when you can. Because
I 100% agree.
So
yeah, motivation is hard to come by. Motivation can fizzle out. Motivation, you can't count on it being there.
Right. It'll fizzle.
Yeah.
Some days it's like, I think I'll sit here and check my Facebook or TikTok. It's way
Oh, and you get lost for hours just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling.
scrolling.
Oh, it's the
Wildly
worst.
entertaining. But
it's so nice, and it's very relaxing, but man.
Now, one thing I did do was almost completely eliminate TV. Not on purpose even. I didn't say like I'm going to quit watching TV, but with the advent of the rise of the Netflix and streaming, I've almost completely eliminated. I don't know the last time I've seen a commercial as far as like from watching a network or anything like that. Or I don't have cable, just streaming services, and I think that's just the wave of the future. But I just don't watch TV. So when I do go on a TikTok or a reel binge, it's not like back in the day I would binge for 10 hours of a series. Well, I got to finish it because I'm at episode 8, so I might as well finish it. But now if you go on a TikTok binge for an hour, it's not near as much wasted time.
Yeah. You're right there. You still...
Not that I love a good show, don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying they're a complete waste of time, but I have a lot more time when I don't watch. That makes sense.
Yeah. It makes total sense. It really does. I can't usually sit still when I just watch something. I have to be doing something else when I'm doing it. So even if I'm sitting down and watching a show, I'm either working on the podcast or I'm looking up something else, or I don't know, I'm doing something while I'm doing it, but that's also just the way my brain works. I have to be doing something.
Oh, wow. See, I'm the world's worst multitasker, like absolutely. It's whatever I'm doing has to have complete focus. And if there's a distraction over here, then I have to know what's going on over here. And then this is gone. And so I can't, like when people try to talk to me, if I'm watching like in the day room, if there's something on TV, even if it's something I'm not interested in, it can be a rerun of like NCIS that I've seen 3 times on USA Network type deal, right? And
yes.
And I'm like, I know what's going to happen. I know who did it and everything, but someone starts talking to me. I'm like, I can't do 2 things at once. And so,
okay. So I got a question now.
Okay.
So when it comes, I'm curious with this though, because that's how you are in everyday life, right? With the distractions. Yes. How does that translate to the fireside? Does that ever come up, or are you in a different mindset when it comes to their?
Are you saying fireground decision making, or are you saying like at the firehouse?
Both, either.
At the firehouse, they have a thing. It's called being Corleyed, which I've worked very hard.
Being Corleyed,
which is where someone's talking to me and I tune them out and don't listen anymore, which is rude. And they will sit there and say, hey, I just got Corleyed. And I'll be standing there, but it's because my brain clicks in on something else and I'm gone. I'm not present. I'm not listening. It's rude. It's one of my major flaws. And they say it jokingly and lovingly, somewhat, but it's also very serious. So, just got Corleyed. And so that's a real problem in the relationships and things like that. And I am very deliberate in trying to be more present, and because it could be anything. Me and you could be having a conversation and you'll say something that's like makes me think about whatever, and then my brain's like latched on and gone, and I'm building slides to present this idea in my head, or I'm writing a chapter in my book in my head, and then I'll come back and I hadn't heard anything said for the last 2 or 3 minutes.
I very much identify with that. Very much identify with that.
Okay, good. That makes me feel not as alone and broken.
Well, yeah, but I feel terrible now because I realized I do this a lot, and I don't want to.
People.
I've been tailoring people. I've totally been tailoring people, not on purpose. It just happens. Yeah, I get so focused on something else, and like, here's this idea. There it is. Let's do it. Let's follow it wherever it goes. Or like, if a scenario pops up in my head, okay, let's follow this till the end of the scenario, and then we're good.
And I would love to say it's always something altruistic, like a new leadership concept or a new book, but sometimes it's like the TV's on in the kitchen on the wall and it's America's Got Talent, and it's a cool human interest story that's distracted me and they get Corleyed. So I'd love to say it's always some higher noble cause. No, sometimes it's something that's absolutely not worthy that makes me Corleyed anyway.
So on the fire ground, then does it ever come into play there, or are you pretty focused on everything that needs to happen on the fire ground?
I'm pretty. I like to hope I'm pretty.
I
hope I don't Corley a fire scene.
No. It's just sometimes just especially the way we are in personal life, the way we are, just our brains work, right? I love figuring out how brains work.
No, 100%.
Oh man. Okay. So sorry. Quick rabbit trail. I took Ben Martin's class this last weekend. Oh my goodness. I hate saying I have a favorite class of the weekend, but there's something so special to me about the psychology of everything. So like that definitely really was.
Man, Ben Martin is on another level. In fact, he I reached out to him. We haven't locked in a date. He's coming back on because we're going to talk some more psychology and human behavior and motivation.
That is so cool. No,
one of my favorite people on the planet. 100%.
It was so cool, just going through everything. So yeah, so just the way our brains work, you're doing something all the time, or it's part of who you are. That does translate into even high stress situations, into the fire scene. And it's just trying to find ways to combat that. Sometimes it is pretty natural to like, okay, it is tuned up because of what you're focusing on. You have to be hyper focused on it.
Yes.
Because it's a fire scene.
One thing is, and this surprises a lot of people, I'm highly introverted. Like I'm very highly on the introvert scale. I'm highly introverted.
I would not have guessed that.
That's what at all. But I am, and that's what I have to tell people. I'm very much a relationship-based people person, but I'm highly introverted, which is a weird combination. But being around people for long periods of time completely exhausts me. Lots of stimuli completely exhaust me. And being alone with my book or being alone with like a starry sky, it recharges my batteries. So, but I didn't understand this for a long time. I really thought I was just broken. And then it was actually one of my uncles who gave me a book, Introvert Advantage, because I was explaining to him, and he's like, "Dude, you're just introverted. Here, read this book." So if you get a chance, read the book. It's amazing.
Who wrote it? Do you know? It's okay.
No, it's a great question. I will tell you.
Okay.
Introvert: How Quiet People Can Thrive in an Extrovert World, written by, if I can get the Marty Olson Laney.
Okay, perfect.
Laney, Laney. But what it does is it explains how introvert processes information. And it makes so much sense when I read it, because when you take stimuli in, it doesn't matter if it is that America's Got Talent over there off the side. We can't block it out. Our brain has to process it. And so our brain has to process it. And if there's tons of stimuli, our brain has to process. We can't block out a conversation that's going on. Like some people can just talk and then people talking next to them. Like the more introverted you are, the more you process what is going on. And it's like radio playing in the background and the song comes on. I can't not identify the song and not hear the song. It has to process and be identified.
Wait a second. So are you saying because I can listen to 3 different conversations happening at the same time, plus my own, and actually figure out what everything is going on? I could potentially be more introvert than I thought I was?
Introvert is just like, this is what the book explained to me. And I'm not a professional. I'm quoting this book, which is where most of my information comes from. But it's what makes you tired. Like it's either stimuli wears you out because you're processing it all in your brain, or stimuli excites you and recharges your batteries. And no matter what the stimuli is, like some people just being around people, man, they're just ready to go, and they're just ready. Most of the people are extroverted.
Yeah. And, that is definitely me though. I mean,
if they fire you, and it's a spectrum, like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. There's no like one or the other. Like there is like parts of both in everybody, I feel like. And like this last weekend, I coined my own term. I'm going to call it dopa drunk, where I have too much dopamine in my system. Right. I'm too overstimulated. It was great. And I am an extrovert and I absolutely loved it. And I get energized. But I get home and I'm wore out. I'm kind of cranky. I just almost feel like I'm just a little drunk, where I'm just like, nope, I'm done. I just need to sleep for a while.
No, absolutely. But a lot of people conflate introvert with shy or not a people person. You know what I'm saying? Although it does manifest that way, because lots of people usually means lots more stimuli. So introverts try to avoid those. But it doesn't necessarily mean that. So you can be an extroverted person that doesn't like people, and you can be an introverted person that loves people. And but it's just where you recharge your batteries, and that's what it comes down. There's a lot more to it. But what it really helped me do was I understood that, this is not my fault. That I hate to say the word fault, but there's a reason why I pay attention to the TV over there, and I can't just ignore it, or it's I'm like, can we please turn that off? And other people are like, they're just bebopping along like it doesn't bother them whatsoever. And once I understood that, like I used to go to retirement parties at my department, and I would just get like, I just had to get out of the room. Right. And I thought I was just kind of socially awkward, broken or whatever. But then I realized after reading the book, if I just step outside and take a few deep breaths and relax and just kind of get inside my own head, I can go back in and go another 2 or 3 hours with no problem. But I had to understand what was going on.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty cool. It was a big epiphany for me but translating into the fire scene, once you understand that your body, your brain process, that's why they call the book Introvert Advantage, is because you can process so much information at once when you're willing to do so and understand that it exhausts you. So.
Oh, that is really cool. I'm gonna have to check out that book.
It's a really, anytime I meet someone who says, I'm an introvert, and I'm always like, have you read this book then? Because it honestly makes you realize maybe you might not even be an introvert, or if you are, especially, then understanding this will make you a more effective person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a phenomenal book. I can't say enough good things about it. I can't thank my uncle enough for telling me about it, 10 years ago.
Oh man. Yeah, like we've been saying, I really love the psychology part of it. You do too. It's so nice. Even though I really don't think I'm an introvert, but like even without being, just finding out what's going on in everybody else's brains, just knowing how everyone else thinks and knowing how to work with them better and I don't like a lot of conflict. Now, granted, if conflict needs to happen to get something done, okay, I'm okay with that.
Right.
Sometimes it does need to happen, but I usually don't like conflict. If there's a way to make sure that like we can get around it without having conflict, maybe there's just a big misunderstanding that people either just aren't talking the same language to each other.
Yes.
Like that's the stuff I want to dig into. That's the stuff I want to find out.
Well, a big thing I tell everybody is like, it's normal to avoid conflict.
Yeah.
It's like, that's normal. That's the way we have developed as a species. That's what kept us alive through in the jungle. Like we avoided conflict. We avoided the snakes and we avoided the bears and the saber-toothed tigers. And so conflict equals bad. Conflict equals our species dies out. So generally speaking, it's normal to avoid conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are people who are comfortable with it and some people who really relish it. And, but for the most part, people are not comfortable with conflict because physiologically we're wired to avoid it. And so understanding that, and then if you ever want, I'll spout books at you all day, so you have to shut me down. But Crucial Confrontations,
okay,
phenomenal book. They wrote 2 books: Crucial Conversations, Crucial Confrontations. Very similar titles, so be careful. I've ordered 3 copies of one of them. But it's a phenomenal book, and it's not just confrontations like I'm angry and I'm gonna have it's like a confrontation that your mother-in-law, you don't like how she's treating your kids when she's around, just those kind of anytime there's an expectation that's not being met, it's just a phenomenal book. So anyway, if you want to, I'll keep throwing books.
No, you're fine. We'll talk about the confrontation stuff too. Just, and it's something that, it's a little, it drives me nuts. And I've done it too many times too. With the avoiding conflict, you would have been in a better spot had you taken the time to have that confrontation with somebody. Absolutely. Going over, even if it's something little, whatever it is, just providing those expectations or fixing a small problem.
Yes.
But we all let it grow to something so big. And I don't understand why we do that. And we just try to avoid it. We think it's going to take care of itself, but it never does.
Never, ever. And problems never get better left alone. Ever.
No.
Like
no,
there's not many things I'll say never and always on. I try to avoid, but problems never get better on their own. Mm-hmm. I'll die on that one. But no, it because it's part of our physiological and psychological makeup to survive. We try to avoid confrontation. It's normal. So we have to be abnormal deliberately and intentionally if we want to actually fix the issue. And sometimes we don't have the tools to, and we actually make the issue worse. But we're really good at that.
Oh man. Yeah. I will agree with that. We're really good at making the problems worse sometimes.
No. And the best part is for me, I say for me, but the one thing I've figured out, especially being in a battalion chief's position at the firehouse, is relationships are everything. And this is, you've been through the 9 L's, so you know that's a huge component of what I talk about. But when you have a strong relationship and you invest in it intentionally and deliberately, I use those words a lot, and consistently, then when you do have to have, and the key to everything is expectation. You said it earlier. When there is an expectation in place, like no one can read your mind, whether it's a firefighter, one of your company officers, or your mother-in-law and the kids. If they don't know what you expect, they can't read your mind. They can't meet it. And so that's usually where most of the breakdown is expectation hasn't been communicated. But if there is an expectation and it's not being met, the relationship is the key to having that confrontation. And so what I've discovered, and it wasn't like on purpose, like, it's worked out to where I now know this is a truth from it playing out over and over, is that when you have a strong relationship with someone, and that trust is there from having that relationship over time consistently, when you do call them in and say, listen, here's the expectation, this is where you're at, I need you up here, it can be a thing that makes the relationship actually stronger. not something where they leave angry and disappointed and it's there's strain on the relationship. You actually grow stronger over time, and it works both ways. The expectation and the accountability can be absolutely be thrown right back up at you. And when you have that relationship and you can look back and go, wow, I didn't even see that. As the BC, a company officer can tell me something, and the relationship gets stronger and the accountability is there. Not in a, insubordinate way. It's in the relationship based way. And it's so powerful. And that's just one of those life lessons that's taken me so long to get to.
Okay. So I am in a unique situation. I am talking to a battalion chief at the moment, and you could give me some insight to this. So I am wondering where you started going on with that path. If, going this both ways, doing the expectations, how would you want someone coming to you from underneath you talking about those expectations or bringing up something that is bothering them or that they want to see different? How do you like to see it? How do you not like to see it? I'm curious.
Are you saying expectations of the person that's in charge, like up the chain, like me going to my fire chief, let's say, almost?
So if your company officer was coming to you,
yes, someone
below you. So
well, first of all, you know me and you know what I teach, but I am 1000% like, please, like I try to have dinners with not only the firefighters, all ranks. Once a year is my goal. I haven't hit it yet, but I really try for that. Have a dinner away from the firehouse with their wife, me and my wife. And it really helps that regard. When you have those kind of things, they get to sit there and talk to you away from the firehouse. They get to say, whether it's a corporal or a rookie firefighter, all the way up to a company officer. I went out with one of my lieutenants Wednesday night, I think, if I'm right on my days. And it was just a great time.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And it's important to tell them, hey, you can bring your kids. It's not like this is, or if you got a babysitter and you want to make it adult night, that's fine too. So, but it's just important to include their kiddos. And so that's part of it. I try to do, it's not about me, but these are the things that have worked for me really well. I have 4 company officers under me as a battalion chief, and they each have 4 lieutenants under them that are their drivers. And that's our rank structure, but not the point. We all 12 of us, 13 counting myself, we have a company officer dinner every quarter, and we meet off duty away from the station, have adult beverages, and we talk about crews, where everybody's at, how things are going. And man, I'm telling you, the benefit, or I'm trying to think, the compounded interest on those meetings is unbelievable for the morale and the teamwork and the synergy of everybody involved. But those things allow them to tell me expectations. And even when they don't feel comfortable telling me, if you're astute sitting at the dinner table and talking, you can kind of pick up on and then follow up later, and it's very, 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 like, I don't understand how people do it without that. And so there's that. And then the other part is getting out of the house. I think it was Rick Lasky and I forget his partner, and their podcast. And they talk about, if you're the battalion, you got to get out of the house. You got to drive around to your stations. And so I try to, once a tour, have dinner at a different station every tour, and try to stay good at that. And so all those things allow these avenues to where they can feel comfortable and the relationships can form. That's what again, man, if you got a relationship, they can come to you with anything. If they have a relationship, then over time, trust will build, and they can come to you with anything. But you have to do it on purpose. And I'm not a huge fan of Gary V, but if I don't, Gary V has his things, but one of the things that he said on one of his TikToks or whatever it was I have 300.
Oh no, I just lost you.
No, I whacked my microphone.
You just got so excited. You're like,
but he said, I have 300 employees or whatever the number was. He said, and I try to have, am I still there?
Yep. You're still here.
Okay. I try to have lunch or dinner with them every year. And that's what sparked my deal with the wives and the dinner. And so, and he's just huge on relationships. And I don't know if I lost my train of thought, but anyway, I don't remember the question. So I love that though. I love what you're doing there. I think I'd like to see that more. I even want to do it just as a firefighter with the other firefighters. Do it.
I mean, just to start building those relationships or keep them built or whatever it is. Like, okay, you're around the firehouse and you talk to these people all the time, but how much do you actually know about the other people? How much do you actually feel connected to them?
100%.
Or is it just, hey, how's the job? And talk shop all day long, which, don't get me wrong, I love that, but we're more than just the job.
100%. 100%. I think the most important thing you can do, my thoughts are constantly evolving. Okay. But currently my thing, the most important thing you can do from my position as a battalion chief is send the message, being very clear on this message is that I am here to take care of you. That doesn't mean spoil you or anything. I'm here to take care of you, keep you safe. And I need to know how to set you up for success. That's my number one job, is to send that message to my people. And the best way I found to do that is just the investment of time in those relationships. So get back to the answer to your question. How do I want to see them set those expectations for me? Is just, hey man, come into my office and shut the door and have any, or even leave the door open and have any sort of conversation you want with me. I may not agree with you in the end, but I want you to have that conversation with me because I can't fix anything I don't know about.
I feel like that's a big difference between people get so stuck. They don't understand the difference between disagreeing with somebody and disrespecting somebody.
Right. No. I believe it's the 9 L's, the part where I make everybody read the sheet of paper, the how to lose friends and infuriate people. But there's I think it's number 7 where, and I love that paper, but that number 7 is take any criticism or different points of view as attacks on your leadership. That's one of those keys to infuriating people. And there's a lot of fire chiefs, battalion chiefs, firefighters who anybody questions them in any way, shape, or form, it's an attack on their character, attack on their decision, attack on their intelligence, attack on their ego. And boom, the defenses come up. And the bedrock of the hierarchy of competency, the absolute bedrock is the ability to look in the mirror and say, what am I responsible for? In what have I done to cause this issue right now? And how can I fix it?
That's hard.
So hard. But you'll find if you study, and I know you do, but leadership and people and motivations and psychology, when you find those people that have this massive impact on organizations, be it fire, massive corporations or tech or out there in the world of charity and nonprofits, those people that have those massive impacts, every one of them has a very high threshold of humility and the ability to look in the mirror and say, ownership. This is what I'm responsible for. I'll fix this. And it's tough.
I feel like everything else, it comes at a spot. You have to do it little by little all the time with that consistency. You have to start looking at yourself and every problem that comes up. It might not be necessarily your fault, but you can't deny that something you did also led it there too.
And a big thing is not about fault. You got to get past fault. Fault is you can always find fault, and it's an excuse and a derailer. And so you got to let go of fault. I'll tell you a quick story if you got time. I don't want to eat up, but
no, you're fine.
There's a kid that runs a Facebook page, and he does a very good job. Does it on his own time. He makes lots of posts that make the fire department look good. And he was on C shift, my shift. And so he posted obviously a lot of C shift stories because he was on duty and he did it on his own time. And he was doing a good job making the fire department look good. And so fast forward, he'd been doing it for about a year, and he posted a feel good story about some kids coming up and seeing their dads at the firehouse, on the fire trucks. It was a good story.
Oh yeah.
And then someone made a snide comment on there from our own department that was like, hey, finally, and I say snide, but they said, finally, someone from A shift gets to be shown on the fire department page, what I'm saying? And it's like, really? That's what you're going to take away from this? And so I was mad, instantly. My knee jerk reaction is like, who does this guy think? He's not doing anything to make this Facebook page better. This other kid's doing it on his own time. I was just mad, you know what I'm saying? And I went to his battalion chief. I said, hey, will you talk to him and see what's going, that kind of thing. And then nothing happened. Luckily, there was some time to cool off. And at the same time, I was working on this concept of the hierarchy of competence and this mirror thing. And I sat there and said, wait, Corley, if you're going to preach this, what have you done? This is the question I asked myself. What have I done to contribute to where it's gotten, right? And I started thinking about it from that lens, not whose fault it is, not if he was right or justified, or if I had my anger was right or justified. And I realized that the way that my message to my guys, my C shift is, hey, you're the best. We're the best. We're going to train harder than everybody else. No one can touch us. We're going to be the best on fire scenes. We're the best. No one trains like us, and no one, we're going to that's the message I was sending. Now, when other shifts hear that message, they hear,
you're not good enough.
You're not good enough.
Yeah.
We think our crap don't stink, and I started realizing, okay, so this is the spin out from my message to my guys, which I'm not changing my message to my guys because it's a very highly motivating message and keeps them engaged and bought in, but there is a spin out from it. And so I actually ended up driving up to that station on my day off to talk to those people. And it was a very awkward conversation. So very awkward. I was like, listen, I'm trying to come in here. And it almost seemed like I was saying, I'm sorry for you guys being turds. It just came out really wrong. You know what I'm saying? But my intent, I talked to the whole crew because I didn't want it to be a battalion chief coming to talk to a firefighter, on another shift. So I just talked to the whole crew and tried to explain myself. And then right in the middle of it, they got a call and they had to go. And so it kind of ended it just kind of awkwardly. And I left and I was like, man, that did not go good. And then he ended up calling me, later and talking to me for like an hour on the phone, just trying to figure out, and we worked through it to a really cool point. And he understood that I was just trying to say, man, I am sorry that I have sent out a message that made you feel like your shift didn't matter. And then you felt like I made a condition to where he felt justified in typing that comment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I said, that's what the part I'm trying to say I'm sorry for. And that's not the message I want to send. And we got to that point where he understood where I was coming from. Now, the really cool part of the story that I really love is I was in Pensacola, in fact, at one of the conferences when his company officer called me. And I remember standing in that hotel room and I was talking to him. He says, hey, check this out. This is like 2 or 3 weeks later. But that corporal, the firefighter that had made the snide comment kind of actually reached out to our Facebook guy, the young guy that was doing Facebook, and said, hey, man, I just want to let you know that was pretty crappy of me to do that. And I just want you to know that I was kind of frustrated. It felt like all and they actually talked it out. And it was like super powerful because what I realized when he called me, it was if I would have done what my knee-jerk reaction was, which I was justified in doing, because what right does he have to, would have been to call him and say, who do you think you are? You don't do nothing around here. And he's doing this on his own time and blah, blah, blah. And just really just railing on him. Then I would have made him an enemy, like I would have entrenched him in his position of, there they are. They think they're better. They can call me up and tell me what to do. And the ripples out would have been so negative, and his crew would have been affected by it. And C shift and A shift would have been, at odds, just another couple bucket BBs in the bucket of tipping that scale. And what I realize is the exact opposite is also true. Like this reaching out and trying to own what you can, the ripples were the exact opposite to where those two guys talked. And it was a super powerful moment for me to realize that just fix what you're responsible for. But that's the part you have to really dig into the mirror. I hope that like I said, it was super powerful to me. I don't know if the story comes across, but
oh yes, it does. It absolutely does. Absolutely. And
when you start applying it to where, like, how did these two shifts start hating? Why are they at shift war? Why is there a shift war? Or why does station 31 hate station 14 so bad?
Like there's a reason there. There's some history, and you have to get down to the roots of it. What actually happened?
And it's usually the lack of communication and the knee-jerk reactions, and mainly the lack of ownership for what have I done to contribute to this. And so anyway, sorry.
No,
you said
do not be
trails?
sorry. Squirrel, what?
Yeah.
No, communication is one of my biggest, lack of communication is one of my biggest pet peeves ever. Not in the fire service, in everything in life. It drives me nuts. And it drives me nuts because I know for a fact I do it too. I have lack of communication and it drives me absolutely bonkers. And so I try so hard to like tell everybody what I mean and not skirt around things. But guess what? I still do it and it causes problems. And oh goodness. But yeah, we could talk about that all night too. But
no, you're spot on 100%. Like every problem that I want to say every problem in my life I basically ever had comes down to the lack of communication. Yeah. Even me and my one of my majors at Station 1 we're talking about the other day, we're talking about good dramas on TV, and what makes a good story. And we melted it down to all you have to do is write a story where there's no communication.
Oh yeah.
And because you're like, hey, you're watching the show and you're like, just tell them.
Just tell them what you think. Tell them how you feel.
Whether it's a thriller or a spy thriller where they're keeping a secret, and it's like, no, just tell them and everything's good. But all the drama is created by the lack of communication in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Either you say it in the wrong way, or you
Yes.
say the wrong words, or you just don't say anything at all, or you say it to the wrong person who twists words around. Like, there's so many different ways you can do it. I mean, how many times have I said something to somebody, but I said it with the wrong inflection of a certain tone that I did not mean to, and they took it a completely different way than what I actually meant it.
And now compound that with text messages.
Oh, geez, I hate it. I hate texting people. First of all, I'm terrible at it. I really am. So if you text me, I am so sorry. Just call me instead. But yeah, it's so bad because you don't know how to read it. Like, there was one guy I was talking to. We were in a group chat, and he says something, and I take it as serious because, it's a text message, and I thought he was really having a problem with something. Turns out he was being sarcastic. I'm like, How am I supposed to tell that by you just saying a text, like just a sentence? I don't know your personality that well. Like, and even if I did know his personality that well, who knows if he's being sarcastic or not, unless you start using emojis. And even then we can get into a whole nother thing, because those are a whole nother language all on their own. And they mean different things to different people too.
People, yes.
Oh man.
100%. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're saying,
have I completely derailed your plan yet?
A little bit, but I love it. I'm
Okay.
all in. I am all in. This is so much fun. That is the best part of these podcasts, is that there is a plan, but half the time there's no plan.
Right. No, that's why I love the scraps, because I always do have, like, you gave me a topic list, and I appreciate that so much. And I always get a topic list for my guests and like something to research. And then we get to like 2 of the topics, and the rest comes from the audience.
Wait, so you're saying that you should have given me the topic list for tonight?
I don't know how you run yours. I'm just telling you, I it's not like I do a lot of this. I only do mine. So,
okay. So let's see. We've talked about a lot. Okay. Oh, there we go. Yeah. I do want to get into this one. I don't want to skip by it because I think it's going to be a really cool conversation. You brought up, when we were talking about all this before, leading up to this, you were talking about tradition. You were talking about you miss it. You don't know if it's here anymore. You don't know what it turned into, all these things. So I want to start with the very basic. Let's start with the interview questions here, like these standard, like firefighter, very, very professional. And, you're going to get hired. What does tradition mean to you, Corley?
Oh, wow. What does tradition mean to me? Man, it is those,
I know. I put you on the spot.
Artifacts and rituals. Rituals is the word I was looking for. It is those artifacts and rituals that have existed and perpetuated throughout time that hold meaning on their own, bigger than the actual ritual. So, and the fire service, I don't think it's gone. I think that it waxes and wanes, and it cycles like everything. Like we hire a big, we hire for a test, and we, back and forth across as we hit each curb. And so it's generationally almost, it's like some people really embrace tradition, and then the next generation comes in and is like, no, it's not about tradition. I love Rick Lasky's Pride and Ownership book. Absolutely love it. And it's the one that challenges, like, it's a travesty when someone puts in a 30-year career and then just, the last day they just walk out the fire station and disappear. There's no fanfare, no recognition, and also like rookie graduations and promotions and hitting 20 years of service or insert whatever benchmark. The biggest thing for me on traditions is, as a society, we have shifted away from traditions forming and being valued. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but they don't hold the value they used to. So I
understand that. I mean, I think back to like even high school graduation. Everybody else is so excited, and I'm just like, yay, it's a piece of paper. I went to school, and like that's the way I felt. And yeah, I can see it. That happens with a lot of stuff nowadays.
So it comes back to me on tradition. Unless we want to let them die, they have to be built and sustained with intentionality, deliberate intentionality. And that it really does. I don't know of any way other than it starts from the top. So it has to start with the chief or battalion chiefs of the shift, or you could do it with the company. Like one of the things we did as a company officer, when I was a new company officer, we actually had a owl. We worked at the busy station, especially at night. It was we were the night owls. And so we had this owl. It was about 2 feet tall. It was this horrendous owl statue, and it was named Minerva, and we stuck it on top of the fridge. And our probationary firefighter had to feed Minerva every morning and then change the seeds at night. And so, but it was a tradition, and Minerva was a thing for our company for I don't know how many years. And I'd love to say that it continued on, but when I ultimately moved on and the crew was broken up, it ultimately Minerva went away. But those things, and you still talk to those members of that crew to this day, and they still talk about Minerva, even the rookies that had to feed them. It would have been awesome to see that carry on, but that has to be done on purpose and intentionally, or they die. And it's a travesty to me, and I go on rants about this, that I think we're seeing everybody's talking about the lack of recruitment and there's a lot of reasons. It's not just this, but the lack of recruitment in the volunteer side, of the down numbers in the professional side as far as applicants, and the lack of interest in the fire service and things like that. And I think we stood on the shoulders of giants. We still stand on the shoulders of giants and all those that came before us, and the iconic moments and things. 9/11 is now something in history. It's not just in the past, like recent past, which is crazy to me because it seems ridiculous. Like yesterday that it just happened. But I've heard fire chiefs say we should move on and forget about 9/11. And I've actually heard that come from a fire chief's mouth. And but we're back to my original rant. We're seeing and I talked to Chief Scott Thompson about this. We were at First In Fire Conference. I was his navigator as he drove us to where we were going. And we had this conversation of, we're seeing the fallout from the last 30 years of managers and politicians promoting into fire chiefs positions and firefighters refusing to promote to the top position. And it hasn't instantly killed it, but over time, you can see the shift, the loss of focus on fire service, the loss of focus on being a fire department, the all hazards approach, the focus on EMS, all these things are detrimental to the fire service. And I'll say it over and over and over again. The building of fire offices instead of firehouses, the shutting of the doors and excluding the community. I understand some places are unsafe. Don't get me wrong, but the compartmentalization of sleeping quarters, and I understand the importance of sleep. Believe me, I do. And I understand some people snore, but the death of the bunk room, and the ability, especially with these things right here, where people can just be like this, everybody in the same room like this for hours on end. And it's death by 1,000 cuts. The giant tradition laden, ritual based, greatest job on earth calling is the elephant beast is being killed, death by 1,000 cuts with all of that. So there we go. Rant off. Sorry.
Oh, well, I might have to turn that rant back on, but so where do I even start with that?
Sorry, I apologize.
No, you are fine.
I don't even know if that's the answer you wanted.
That is the answer I needed. I don't care if it's the answer I wanted. It's kind of like you get the leader you need, not the leader you want, right? It happens all the time. But just trying to pick out where I actually want to go with it first, because there's so much to unpack in that. Well, I was talking to some friends, and they were asking opinions on, what other people do for their bunk rooms, right? And so we were talking.
Say the run crumbs.
Sorry, the bunk rooms.
Oh, bunk rooms. Okay,
sorry,
I missed the word. I'm sorry. It might have glitched.
So we were talking through that. We were just hearing, what everyone kind of did and on their own stuff. And, and yeah, you're right. Everyone is going to these separate bunk rooms. And it, like you said, it makes sense with the sleeping, but you lose that sense of camaraderie. You lose that sense of family when you do it. And, I know a lot of the big push is the different genders going through it, making sure that you have, private spaces. And I understand that, don't get me wrong, but honestly, I'm going to say personally, if I were on a career department and I had the chance to be in a bunk room with everybody, I don't care. Give me shorts and a t-shirt. I'm going to sleep with everybody else. It's going to make me feel a part of the group. And that, finding things to feel a part of the group and tradition to me is just something else to make you feel a part of it all. That is the base of it. You feel like you belong here. And if you start pushing me into my separate room, if you start, everyone's on their phone and no one's talking to me, or I don't have a chance to talk to anybody else, or whatever it is. If you don't wash the trucks together anymore, if you don't do any of this stuff together, then what is the advantage to the fire service anymore. The fire service is this big brotherhood, right? Like it's
oh yeah,
it is this big living, evolving thing. And if you don't have those things that tie it together, if you keep trying to pull it apart in different ways, you're gonna lose it. And that's, yeah, like you're saying, we're seeing the fallout of that.
No, and it's unintended consequences, because there's reasons for the separate bunk rooms. I get the sleep, I get the privacy, I get the gender, and all I do. There's reasons for it, but the unintended consequences is I can't tell you the bust a gut laughter we used to have in the tiny bunk / weight room.
When somebody farts, when somebody does something,
just all of it. And the life lessons learned as we're falling asleep, or especially, 2 a.m, we're all coming back tired from that, the BS medical, or even coming back from that fire where we cleaned the rig and we're crawling back into our bunks at 3 a.m, and the life lessons learned and the wisdom given and the bust a gut laughter. And all of that is part of the things that form those bonds of that made us so strong. And it's not just bunk rooms. It's not like just that. It's like I said, it's the death by 1,000 cuts. It's these tiny paper cuts from each of these things making us lose focus and losing that tradition, that brotherhood, that ritual, the artifacts, the it's just a job. I get paid the same whether I go to the fire or I don't, so I'd rather just sit here in this recliner. I got a day off job, and I make more on my day off job. So I'm just here for my insurance and my retirement, and that's the professional side. Yeah. I don't even have a clue how they keep people engaged in the volunteer side when they lose sight of the tradition and the relics and the artifacts and the tradition and the ritual. Like, it's
tough. It is tough. I mean, I know a lot of volunteer departments are going towards other types of incentives, but a lot of them can't afford it.
Right.
It's ridiculous. And like, I don't know exactly what you were feeling when you came into the fire service. When I came in, the reason I stayed is because I felt like I belonged somewhere. I made friends from it. I'm pushing headfirst farther into it it seems like every day, every month, and because I'm making these connections, because I'm having these friends, because I'm doing these things and building my own traditions with things, and learning more of it. But that's what pulled me in. That's what pulled my husband in. That's what pulls a lot of the people that I know into the fire service.
The sense of belonging and it's, man, I study culture a lot. The Culture Code by Coyle, one of the greatest books out there. Leadership Challenge with Posner and Kouzes, or I mispronounce the names. And then of course Leaders Eat Last with Simon Sinek. Like all three of these books have these massive things in common, but one of them is that inspired that shared vision. You have to have that shared vision of and that belonging to a purpose. And that's what the fire service has baked into the cake. Like it is baked into our cake when we walk in the door, if we can just embrace it and quit minimizing it. Yes. as a culture. And we have to get firefighters, and we have to get firefighters to promote into the big positions and start shifting the pendulum back towards embracing those things that make the fire service so the greatest job on earth.
I mean, that's the only thing that's really going to fix it. I mean, I know that there's a need for good senior men, right? And good company officers. And don't get me wrong, I understand the needs for all that, but you need people to take that step.
Yes. Otherwise, what do you get if you don't? We're looking at it. We're staring at 2022. We're staring down the barrel of what it looks like. And so, and I'm not saying they're evil people. They're not. No. Like there's justifications for almost everything they do. It's just it's destroying the tradition and culture that made this the greatest job on earth.
It's turning it into just another job.
Yes. And we're seeing the results of that in the retention, recruitment, etc., job satisfaction, etc. We're seeing the results of 30 years of not treating it like the greatest job on earth and treating it like every other job out there.
I mean, let's be honest. You turn it into another job, you're going to have to start competing with other jobs when it comes to benefits, when it comes to pay raises and stuff like that. You're competing with other jobs for that. And most people don't want to work 24-hour shifts and be away from their families. So if you don't have that brotherhood behind it to keep it together, if you don't have the traditions behind it to keep it together, people are going to go find other jobs that give them that.
Absolutely. No, so you hit the nail on the head. So there, we just fixed the American Fire Service right here.
Yeah, just do it, people. solving the world's problems, one podcast at a time, one rabbit trail at a time.
And I don't want to be like, I don't respect a good senior man that's plugged into the job and salty and passing on knowledge, but I've never met an amazing senior man that wouldn't have made an amazing fire chief. Like when they talk about him I'm not talking about a guy with 25, 27 years where he's repeated his first year 27 times and spent most of it in the recliner. I don't care how much time you have in the job, on the job. It's time into the job. And so when you have a guy who is into the job, I've never met one that wouldn't have made a phenomenal fire chief and I have nothing against the back step and nothing against the senior man who rides his entire career there. And I've told like one of my best senior men ever, like you're a phenomenal senior man. I love the fact that you invest in our young guys and everything like that. But the fire service missed out when you decided not to promote.
Yeah. And somebody needs to do it.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to. You have to start treating the fire service like another recruit, giving them, passing on that knowledge and making the fire service better too.
Absolutely.
Oh man. Yeah. So somebody do it. Somebody promote somebody. Okay, so where'd you come up with the name, the Firehouse Vigilance?
Mark von Oppen, one of my heroes, fully involved out of California. I love him, man. Everything he writes. He had a blog back in, I want to say 2015, 14, 13, that area. And I just love everything he wrote. Like he was ahead of his time with the Rogues, fully involved. He's part of the Fire Service Warrior with Christopher Brennan and Brian Brush. And just phenomenal person. But he wrote an article, and I wish I could cite which article it was, but in that article, he said, we're up against complacency. That's what we're up against. And the only way to fight complacency is to always be vigilant. And so that was the kind of the first one. And then Terry Scott, who was a 38-year battalion, he retired as a battalion chief, 38-year guy at my department. Chief Terry Scott, when he retired, he was talking to me. I filmed retirement video. I read Rick Lasky's book about retirement. So I made like, I don't know, I think I made like 35 retirement videos for guys who retired over the last 10 years or so, and made a big production of them. But long story short, on his retirement video, I always ask him, would you like to say anything to everybody that you're not going to be able to say that night? And one of the things he said was, boys, the hardest fight you will ever fight in your career is the fight against complacency. Right. And so that, him saying that was like the never ending fight against complacency. And the only way to do that is to be vigilant. And so that's where Firehouse Vigilance came from.
Oh, that's perfect. That's cool.
Mark von Oppen and Terry Scott, smash them together and you get Firehouse Vigilance.
Fantastic. Okay. One last question to deal with that, at least. Where did you come up with the name for the weekly scrap and talking about Mudstone Scrap? I want to hear the story behind this.
Man, honestly, I love, I don't want to say branding because that almost sounds too commercialized, but I love good branding. Like, I hate when, I make up something and then I Google it and I have trouble. I was in a band, back in the day. And
okay, hold on. I got to know the name of the band.
The band was originally, and this is part of the story.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No. I mean, it's a perfect question to segue to it. No More Heroes was the name of the band. No More Heroes. Okay. And it was a rock band from like 2007 or whatever. But the problem was when you Googled No More Heroes, after we'd become a band and been practicing and playing a couple, crappy shows around town, you Google No More Heroes and it pulled up this video game that was made around the same time on the Wii, I think. And so you could not find us except on 10th page of Google. So we ended up changing our name just to get away from that to Never My Hero. And so Never My Hero was actually the name of the band for a few years. Not the point. So ever since then, I always check Google first before I brand anything as far as a name. And so I wanted the scrap part is these are my leftover thoughts, the scraps, I've read this stuff, and because originally it was just me. There was no guests. And so it was just, and I'll just do it weekly. Every week I'm going to do a scrap, and scrap's kind of like, you get in a fight or whatever. So that was kind of the original impetus of it. And I Googled it and there was nothing out there. Now, since then, there's this one called the Weekly Scraps podcast, and it's just one S on the end of it. But it's about MMA fighters. And
okay.
So it's out there. You can find it if you type in Weekly Scrap. But that was a big reason why. And then the Mudstone Scrap I wish I need to go back, but there's a lot of episodes to sift through on Facebook to find the comment. But somebody made, and if they listen to this and hear it, tell me who you were. That'd probably be the easier way. But someone said in a Facebook comment, "Hey, mutts don't scrap. That's why we're here," or something along those lines.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it really resonated. And I was like, I love that. Mutts don't scrap. And so that turned into the t-shirts and the hats and Scrappy the dog.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have something like that to rally around. It's good to have just a nice quote like that to have to remind you, hey, you're doing this for a reason.
Absolutely.
Mutts don't scrap, like it. I love it.
No, I do. It really spoke, like everything I do speaks to me. And so a lot of times when I'm talking to myself. Like, yeah, I think John Spear from Fit to Fight Fire says it, or the Fit to Fight Fire guys say, if you don't like what I'm saying to you, you should hear how I talk to myself in my head, And so a lot of what I do, so the mutts don't scrap, that's to me as much as anybody, the Vigilant Creed and the tag, man. I mean, it means so much to me that we do this for others, push, train, learn, master ourselves, never easy, never quit. I can't tell you how many times I was going to leave the gym and then I remembered I had my tag on. And so I was like, hey, let's get one more set in, or whatever.
That's awesome.
So it's all aimed at me and my never ending fight against complacency. And I'm just, like I said, the luckiest dude in the fire service.
No, it reminds me. So the quote that I love that gets me pumped up is kick down doors for others to walk through.
Yeah, I like that one.
And
I was talking about that the other night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe I read your post. When did
Well, I put out a podcast episode that actually came out the Friday of Revolutionary.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah. I was listening to that podcast. Okay.
So yeah. So, oh man, it means so much to me. And like, people are like, why do you have that on there? I'm like, well, it means a lot to me. I'll tell you what it means, but like, it's not out there for anybody else. It's out there to speak to me when I need the extra push.
No, and you said it's not about being a woman or woman power. It's about the overcoming these challenges and pushing myself. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah,
I did. I thought that was our conversation, but now it makes sense. I saw it there.
I mean, there were so many conversations that happened that weekend. I would not be surprised if that came up too, though.
No, 100%. And it's the conflation of it all. It's like,
like,
no, we just talked about this. And like, you sure that was me? No, so
yeah, pretty much.
I hate it when, go ahead.
No, go. You said you hate. No, you hate it. What?
I was like, I hate it when I'm meeting somebody and I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. Like, we were just at the conference last week or 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh, that's what I meant. Nice to see you again. Because it just conflates. It all blurs.
It does.
And the conversations, because there's so many good ones. And you're trying to remember who said what, where, and that resonated with you or with, the great questions in the classes. And you're like, yes, I do remember that now, and it's just, I hate my brain sometimes for not remembering things.
I try to, like, throughout the week, I'll re-listen to some of the guest episodes I have on. I don't usually listen to my own that are just me. There's no reason to. I know my thoughts, right? Like I remember what I said, but I like to listen to the guest ones again because it's nice to hear again, like, oh yeah, this is that person. We had this conversation. These are the cool things they said. I want to remember this. And sometimes you need to listen to that another time after you record it, just to like sink it in and just listen and just really like be a listener again for it.
No, especially like for the scrap, when I have someone on who's like Kyle Romigus, when he did his whiteboard episode and the nozzle work and all of his decision making, I had to go back and listen to it so I could take notes for myself, not just be the host. Absolutely.
All right. So are you ready to go into the last section of the podcast?
Absolutely.
All right. So you guys, we are going into the family firefighter survival section of the podcast. This is an amazing section. I love having it in on every guest episode. This section is 100% unscripted. There's no specific topics we're going to go over. That's why I love this section. It is whatever we feel like talking about. We're going to get into our families. We're going to get into how it works. We're going to get into the good things, maybe some of the bad things we've learned along the way. It's going to go wherever we feel like taking it. So are you ready, Corley?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're going to start out nice and easy. What does your family look like?
What does my family look like?
Yes.
I would say it's like Norman Rockwell, like almost, in fact, I got a picture on my screensaver. Screensaver on my phone. If I can get to my, right there. It's like that's my kiddos.
Oh, nice.
And my wife is amazing, perfect person. Like, I'm serious. From outside looking in, we are the Beaver Cleavers, the Cleaver family, like 100%, 2 daughters, a son. And me and my wife been married 28 years. High school sweethearts that somehow stayed together almost 3 decades now.
That's awesome. And you two look very, very cute together. Not gonna lie, like just seeing you at the conference together, getting a chance to see you in person again, to meet her in person for the first time. It was so cool. And you look like you love each other. So there's
no, absolutely. She is an amazing person. Not that we can't fight like cats and dogs with the best of them, but she is amazing. And one thing I can say is she always goes out of her way to make me look good or sound good. No matter, it's a powerful gift. I've seen a lot of times when a spouse or someone will, not intentionally even, just kind of put their spouse down. She always builds me up, and that's a powerful thing.
That is. It's an amazing dynamic there. I love that. You can
like
tell that. No, go ahead.
Outside looking in, we are the perfect family, but I promise you, we have the fissures and the cracks and the ugliness and the fighting and the arguments we're good at it. We're practiced, well practiced. I don't want to paint like a fake picture.
Yeah.
We're deeply flawed, but amazing. I'm blessed. Me and my wife always say it. People would kill to have what we consider problems.
Mm-hmm.
They would kill for our problems to be their problems. And that's a great place to be. And I'm grateful.
I'm sure it comes from a lot of work, though. It's not like it just happens.
No, especially on my wife. Like, I got to give her credit where it's due, and she's an amazing woman that has been, like, her sole purpose in life was to be the most amazing mother ever, and it is highly reflected in our kids. So I got to give her credit where it's due.
So when you started out with all this fire service stuff, you said you at least had 2 of your kids, right?
Yes. Well, one was on the way.
One was on the way.
When I was a rookie, like, she was like 2 or 3 months pregnant when our child was born in September. So probably she's about 2 months pregnant when I hired on.
So I know that you kind of got almost thrown into it, right? Decided to go for it and everything with it. What was that dynamic like during all that? What'd she think about it? How did, were there talks about it, or was it pretty much have fun? Let's see what happens.
It was like, I'm one of the few people in the history of the Moore Fire Department, because the Moore Fire Department did not get paid well back then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hired on right when our pay went from like nothing to like really competitive. So, but at first it was garbage pay. I want to say it was $16,000 a year.
Okay.
Starting out. And then, after 6 months, it went to 18 or something like that. When I got my year on, it went to like $28,000 a year, which was,
yeah.
I was one of the only people that ever got hired where I was getting a raise when I went there, because we were dirt poor, young married kids. And so we were all about, I was getting paid. I was getting insurance, retirement. So no, we were 100. It was one of the best things that ever happened to us. Now, like I said, we were poor. Like, I remember we would go to my parents' house to eat because we didn't have enough money to get groceries to eat. We were young, dumb kids,
Yeah.
But we made it work. We loved each other, no doubt about it. And we made it work. But no, I was 100% all in, because I say that again, I was highly irresponsible 20-year-old who did not take the job seriously. I loved being a firefighter. Don't get me wrong. I loved riding the truck. I loved going to fires, the adrenaline rush and kicking in doors, saving babies, everything about it. You know what I'm saying? The whole motif. But I didn't respect the job. I didn't respect the traditions. I like to party on my days off, and 100% just irresponsible young kid.
So she was all in with it with you through the beginning of all this.
Yes.
Did it take time to get used to any of the hours or anything, or was it pretty easy to, especially with a kid on the way? I'm curious how that all worked.
Man, my dynamic is different most because of how dedicated she was to those kiddos, and so like I said, blessed and grateful, because she was all about them, and even probably almost detrimentally so to our relationship early on, until we learned, and she'll say that, so I'm not busting her with that, kicking her under the bus, but her kids were more important than her husband. And that's one of the reasons why the dynamic worked for us, and we were young and didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Like that was just kind of from that point on, that's what we did. I disappeared.
You're like, this is what marriage is. This is what this job is. This is how life is.
I just disappeared 10 days a month. And back then, like your family did not come up there. Like they were not welcome up there. That was completely separated.
I remember you talking about this past weekend.
Yeah. Discouraged. And that's one of those reasons why it's so important to me that families come up and we have Christmas dinner and Thanksgiving. If they're on shift, man, everybody's invited. And we try to do the days at the lake or the get-togethers. And that's so important to me because I saw how the effect it had on my family, that not happening early on in my career.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So going through all that and having 3 kids and coming now, is there anything you would have done differently?
Man, that's a tough one.
I know.
It's like
we're under the same thing of everything happens for a reason, right? And that's the hard part. I know. But
no, I definitely have regrets. I definitely have regrets.
Yeah.
Like 100% I have regrets of my priorities as a father at times. Like I wish I would have invested more time in my kids when they were younger, because I let my wife do a lot of things like go to the zoo with my kids while I slept because I had a long shift,
mm-hmm.
And things like that, once or twice or anything, but over the aggregate, I definitely have things I would have invested more time in. And I'm sure vice versa with Amanda, as we've talked about things on the whole, like I cannot stress enough how blessed I am as a human being, because, and I mean that like humbly and gratefully so, because people would kill to have our problems. So it's hard to say I wish I'd have done anything different but there are things personally, my prioritization, where I spent my time, and things like that. Absolutely. There are regrets, but I don't think there's much I would have done different.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I love hearing your perspective, because everyone has a different perspective when it comes to this. Everyone has a different situation. And some people have had harder times in the family aspect than other people have when it comes to all this stuff. Right. I know it's tough. I will talk to friends and they tell me that me and my husband are quote unquote sickingly in love. Like they just can't, they can't understand the fact that I actually want to be around my husband all the time and stuff. Right. And like, I hate it when he's gone, even on shift. It drives me nuts. I'm used to it, but it's just one of those things like, dang it, I wish you were here, but it's just a different dynamic, and it's nice because you have these people from different avenues who have these different experiences with life. And there's other people out there somewhere that identify with that. Yes. And they'll see some of these problems or some of these, okay, it's been going really well. Just because, how do I put this best? Nope, I don't know where I was going with that, so never mind. But that's happened a few times. But
absolutely. And the perspective is huge. Perspective is huge. And I want people to know 100% me and Amanda have been the best thing that ever happened to each other. And at times the worst thing that's ever happened to each other. And we put each other through the ringer, and we've come out stronger in the end for it. And we're like on a very good run, although I don't want to jinx it. So you got to knock on wood or whatever.
Knock on wood. You actually have a wood desk. So yes, you can, okay.
Well, just the top.
Oh, okay. Just
a wood top.
I love it though. Cause she is such a big supporter of you, and you are such a big supporter of her.
Oh, she's my number one hype person, period. Like 100%.
And I was really impressed actually. So when we were setting stuff up for you to come to Nebraska to the conference to Les Lukert, and a few times I got a chance to talk to her on the emails and stuff like that. Honestly, I thought this is so cool. Oh. The fact that she is that integrated into all of this, and she, coming to the conference this last weekend and just enjoying every minute of it. It was amazing.
No, and we're figuring it out too, because she loves to travel, first of all. Mm-hmm. And it just depends. It depends on, like we get to go to Water on the Fire down in Pensacola. We both love the beach. And so we just need an excuse to go to the beach at all. But it just depends, but she loves to travel. So it worked out really good. And then it's really fun to work in, like we got to go to Benjamin Martin's Fireground Commander. And it's, like an hour and a half train ride from DC. So we actually went a few days early and spent like 3 or 4 days in DC. Because we'd never been, and we always wanted to. So it's bucket list. And I love the city. I love the history. And did the DC tour. Then we traveled down and did the conference and attended the conference and saw everybody there, and phenomenal. And it's so fun to incorporate. Again, it's not going to be for long because we got this window that we can just drop everything and go.
Yeah.
So
No, that
taking
is a
advantage.
cool thing. Yeah, it's a cool thing to take advantage of. It's really crazy with that. So with your kids growing up, what do they think of you doing all this stuff with the weekly scrap or with fire stuff? Are they
My daughters are like my wife. They're huge hype. They're my number 2 and 3 hype persons, and 100% supportive. And then my daughter was an English teacher. She's currently getting into coding. It was really cool. Yeah, my son's a firefighter. My middle daughter's a nurse, and my oldest daughter was an English teacher, junior high English teacher, nurse, firefighter. So, but she's currently switching over to computer work and coding, and it's just really. We had lunch with them today and talked a lot about it. And I lost my train of thought. Oh, my boy busts my chops, like 100% loves to. He's on the job. He got on Oklahoma City Fire, which is my department is a suburb of OKC Fire. OKC Fire is the big city next to us, and so my brother is a firefighter at Midwest City, which is another suburb of Oklahoma City, also compared to Oklahoma City, a smaller department. And so my boy loves to bust my chops and tell me he's on the big city, and I'm at more. Which what was really cool, Oklahoma City, their graduating class, they had 63 people graduating their class when my son graduated, and they reached out and said, "Hey, would you like to do a speech at the graduation?" And I was like, "Man, yeah, it'd be
Of course.
that'd be amazing." My son's graduation ceremony. So they said, "Okay, cool. We're going to keep it a secret, though. Is that fine with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine." I said, 100%. So fast forward, and like a week before, he gets selected by his class to do a speech at the same graduation, right? To do a little present. They present their plaque that they make that represents their class. They present it to the training. Oklahoma City has amazing traditions. It's like really cool to be a part of. But so he was the one who got to give up and give a 5-minute speech to present the plaque to the training committee. And so then I was in a conundrum, like, do I go in there when he's going to speak and I don't want to overshadow his day? This was, I was torn. And
that is interesting. Yeah. Is it going to be seen as overshadowing, or is it going to be seen as loving and trying to, make that bond too?
Right. And I didn't want to take away from his day. And so ultimately I talked to a lot of people. They said, "No, you got to do it. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to where both of you on accident are going to speak at his graduation. You got to do it." And I was like, "Okay." So I did mine. I knocked it out of the park. I really did a good job. I really want to say, don't toot my own horn too much, but I did a good job. Then he got up after, he was a bunch of other people spoke in between us, and he got up and like in front of that crowd of, I don't know, it's probably 2,000 people there watching those people graduate. And he completely busted my chops about, I think he led off with something like, he goes, "I think it's important that you speak from the heart. And I just want everybody to know, my dad says I like busting his chops. I just want you to know he was up here with his notes and I am not." And so it brought the house down. It was really great, man. And then it's actually recorded. You can see it on Oklahoma City's Facebook page if you scroll far enough. It's pretty impressive. It'll probably be one of my favorite memories of life, is sharing that day with him at the start of his career, and my whole family being there. My parents, his grandparents, my brother and everything. And that I don't know why I told the story. I've forgotten. Oh, how my family reacts. So he's always asking me. He's always asking, "Hey, Dad, when are you gonna have me on the scrap? How come I'm not on the scrap yet? When am I on the scrap?" And I'm like, "What do you want to talk about?" He's like, "I'm a firefighter." So it's just funny. He's just busting shot. But he 100%, probably one of my biggest supporters, but also my biggest ball buster.
So I got to ask too here, if you're good with talking about it, but were you ever worried about your son becoming a firefighter, with how dangerous this can be and how people can take the job?
I don't think so. He never showed interest in being a firefighter at all. He actually, when he out of high school, he went to a VOTEC to start taking computer classes and stuff, and he never really showed interest. Now, I did tell his mom, like, Amanda, I would tell her back when he was like 13 or 14, I was like, "He's screwed. He's gonna be a firefighter." Like I didn't tell him that because I didn't want to pressure him into it. But I'm like, he's gonna go get a real job, and he's gonna be like, "What do you mean I have to work tomorrow?" Like, when's nap time? When do we eat and when do we work out? And I said, so it's because that's all he knew from the time he was born. That's all he knew. And so he was 18 when he came and said, "Hey, I'm going to try out for the fire department." And he did. He tried for the next, he got hired when he was 21, and he went through a ton of processes and earned it. And completely different. And I think, like I said, I got hired the first time I tried out because it was the only way I was going to be a firefighter. And I think he got hired after trying out over and over and over because he needed that maturation of that process of getting rejected, you know, to get that, to get to where he was ready when he got hired. And so everything happens for a reason. What was the original question?
I was curious if you were ever worried at the point, especially like while I was going through academy or any of this, of like him being a firefighter.
The greatest way to, and he's exposed to me. And so the greatest way to stay safe at this job is to be good at it. I
100% agree.
Like training is the key to safe and effective building, construction, fire behavior. Understanding those two things is the key to safe and effective fireground operations. That doesn't mean the fire gets a vote. Absolutely. There are people who've done nothing wrong who this job claims their lives. But really, if you really dig into the data, what's killing us is the dinner table, not the fireground. It's our lifestyle choices and our lack of physical exercise that's killing us. When you really melt down the ones where it happened and there was really nothing else. It was just a bad day. Like the fire got the vote. Those are so few and far between that it's really not that dangerous a job when you really look at the amount of protection we have and the training that is put into place to keep those things from happening. And so, no, short answer, no, I don't think I am. And especially OKC is a phenomenal department with their focus on training and competency. And I can't say enough good things about them.
Also, so I was going to say too, really quick on OKC, it was a while ago, but I saw a post come up and I think it's because I saw your wife tagged in it or something there, starting to deal with some of the family stuff in there too. And I loved seeing that.
Oh, Richard Kelly, he was on the scrap. I erased my whiteboard, my old ones, but he was on like 143 or 142 area. He's the chief of OKC. I don't have a lot of chiefs on. Amazing human being, amazing firefighter. And it's very important to him. Like he showed up he shows up at their peer support, at their family support. They have a family support night for the new recruits and they invite all the family there. And he's just plugged in. And he asked my son, how's my son, you know, he's got a 750 man department. He asked him, how's Station 12 is treating you? You know,
man,
how big is that? You know,
that is everything. And I mean, I don't know the Chiefs or I'm not even gonna say the Chiefs, the people that go out of their way to do stuff like that. You don't have to have everything memorized. You know a lot of stuff. It happens. Take the time to look up who you're going to go talk to, what you're going to go do and see, okay, if you don't remember, just go see, okay, do you have their family names? Do you have where they work? Do you have any of this stuff? It's going to jog your memory of some sort, 100%. Right? And you're going to be able to have those genuine conversations then. And the people that take that time to do it, even though I know they're way too busy to even remember who I am, but if they took that time to do some research on me before all this, I am going to be so grateful and trust them so much more because I know they put in that time for me.
Yes. And it's powerful.
Yes.
It's like they're sending the message. You are important to me.
Yes.
I'm going to protect you. I'm going to keep you safe and I want to set you up for success. And it's part of sending that message.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry. Get me on a rant.
No, you are fine. My goodness.
But no, it's powerful when the chief of the department of, 39 stations comes up and says, how's Station 12 treating you? And the crazy part is he's on his rotation. So he's been to 2 different stations and getting ready to go to another one. So
he kept track. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Fantastic. No, that's
one of my favorite photos, just to keep harping on it. But one of my favorite photos of all time, they have a 24-hour training day. It's the culmination of the academy. And they have a 24-hour training day. They do everything this day. The recruits come in and they run the training center like a firehouse. So they have to cook breakfast. They go out and they get on rigs. They go and do inspections and flow hydrants, and then tones will drop. So dispatch gets to practice with them, and they'll respond to like an MVA that they have set up down there at the training ground. And they'll respond to fires. They'll respond to like smells and bells that are just nothing. But it's 24 hours long. They eat dinner, they go to sleep and everything. And then of course they don't get to sleep. It's calls all night. And it culminates, like 2 a.m. with this massive, it starts out as a fire in the tower. Then it turns into a 3rd floor, multi-floor fire with a mayday usually, or multiple victims and multiple alarms and everybody's involved. It's this phenomenal thing they put on.
That is so cool.
That part's amazing. Like everybody needs like 100%. But the coolest part is when it's over 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, the entire command staff is down there and they have an anvil at the training center And every recruit that goes through that gets to go up there, and the chief is there in his uniform. And it's a powerful picture. Amanda was there and snapped the picture. And you go up and you get to turn in your chain link, and he gives you the coin and says, welcome. And then you get added to the chain. I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of it.
I did see the picture of the chain.
It just goes down their wall, and you get added to that chain. But the command staff is all the chief, the fire chief, on a Saturday or actually a Sunday morning at 4 a.m.
They're there.
He's there, full uniform at the anvil to accept him and welcome him into the fire department. And it's one of the most powerful pictures. You can just see it on my son's face in the picture. Like it's it's like a hammer, like said, boom, welcome to something you should be proud of, and that goes a long way.
And that is taking your own time out to do this for somebody else. That is showing them you care. And that is the push that someone needs. That is the event that someone needs, when, especially at a very vulnerable time where they're coming on. They just got done with this academy. They're stressed out. They've gone through all this stuff. They don't know how probation's going to go. It's so much emotion. They're so tired, especially after that 24 hours. And it's this big thing that will stick with them for the rest of their careers. That is the kind of tradition that will either make them or break them for their career.
And that is exactly, I'm going to point my hand. And that is exactly what I mean when I'm talking about traditions don't happen on accident.
Yeah.
They don't happen on accident. It happens because he's deliberate about going out there and being there for that. And when he retires, will that continue? I don't know. Will the next person be as deliberate and make it happen? And so anyway, it was a powerful thing. And yeah.
Oh man. I think that's a good place to end this for now, because I think at some point I will have you back on and we'll talk about more stuff, but
let me know. I'll sit here and ramble, anything you want to talk about, we can do. And I love it, man. I really do. I've really enjoyed, I don't know if there was much value in it, but it was a lot of fun. So,
there was a lot of value in it. I loved every minute of it. I will go back and, like I do with all my guest episodes, I'm going to go back and listen to this and just be a listener and just soak it all in again and really revel in it. And it's going to get me thinking. It's what you've already been talking about has already gotten me thinking, and my brain's running at 1,000,000 miles an hour trying to keep up with everything that's happening right now. But
I cannot thank you enough for having me on the Couplings podcast. It's been a blast.
Oh, thank you.
I really look forward to myself going back and listening to it and see what I said and make sure.
Make sure you said what you wanted to say.
Yeah. Or be like, did that really say that?
Yeah.
Let me know when you want to do it again. At some point, I'll bring you on the scrap and we'll talk about it on the other side, and I'll be the interviewer.
That's a big ask. You do not realize what big of an ask that is. That
really?
Yeah, I'm a little bit intimidated. I would love it. I will always be up for it.
No, it'll be awesome. It'll be a fun time.
I would love to.
No, absolutely. You absolutely deserve it. So, and not just because I've been on here, I'm saying you're doing great things and staying consistent, and it's just, 100%.
It's like the stuff you were talking about before. You don't feel like you're anything, right? Right. You're just a person. You're just a firefighter. You're just, that's the way I feel. So you saying that, just, I don't know, my brain is exploding at the moment. So
no, I got one today. Someone sent me a message, and I get them a lot. And I was just like, it's like, you ever heard of imposter syndrome?
Yes, I have it every day.
Yeah, 100%. And someone sent me a message and said, "Hey, Chief, I just want to let you know, thank you for what you do. You've reinvigorated my career. I found the weekly scrap, and before then I thought I was all alone." And it was just, and I sent him the same thing I sent him every time. I like, brother, I'm the luckiest person in the fire service. Thank you for sharing this with me, because it keeps me fired up. But I'm like, I don't deserve, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
oh man, I could talk about imposter syndrome all day long.
Yes, it's a very, very, very real thing. And it's like, I keep waiting for somebody to come up and say, "Hey, this isn't real.
Hey, this isn't real. Like you're not actually here. It's a dream." Right. Or like,
no, and it's hard to talk about because I don't know. I don't know. It is what it is.
No. Yeah. No. Yes. No. Yes. I don't know.
It's uncomfortable.
It is very uncomfortable.
Because you don't feel deserving to be like getting that compliment. It's like,
exactly.
Why are you giving me this compliment, man? I thank you for listening, and I appreciate it wildly, but I don't deserve it,
Yes.
And it's a weird feeling, and I don't know. I don't have a good answer for it. So,
well, it's like the stuff that I've been doing here is just like, I've just been talking into a microphone. Right. I haven't been doing anything revolutionary. I haven't been doing, I don't know. I don't deserve to go to a conference and meet all these great people and stuff. It's just, I don't feel that. And so when it happens, it's just so overwhelming.
You absolutely capture. That's why I tell people I'm the guy that talks to people who are important. You know what I'm saying? That's what I do.
This might be what we have to talk about next, is the imposter syndrome, because this is intense. This is, we can.
Well, and part of it is when you start saying like, I don't deserve this. You feel like you're saying like, I'm a big deal, but I don't deserve it. But that's not what I'm saying.
No,
you know what I'm saying? It's weird. And I don't. Again, we're going to go down the rabbit trail right now. We're wrapping up. Sorry.
No,
I'm taking Amanda out for steak here as we wrap up. So that's next. That's next on the agenda.
Oh, that'll be great. That'll be nice. No, anytime. I would love to be on. Whenever you want to come back on, we have to set stuff up.
Count on it. So it'll be a good time.
All right. Fantastic. All right, Corley. So if people want to find you, how do they do that?
Firehousevigilance.com. That's the easiest way. And there's links to everything else as far as Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Facebook is probably the most interactive for whatever reason. It's like, I don't think it's the best one, but it's the one that I think most firefighters are on. And I think it's because our generational gaps, even old firefighters all the way, younger firefighters, not so much. But anyway, sorry.
No, you're fine. I do more group stuff on Facebook when I do that. But if I'm interacting, like I like looking on stuff on Instagram more. But if I'm talking to people, I like Facebook.
I can't interact on Instagram near as well.
Yeah.
Like I love, like you said, scrolling. I love that, but interacting, Facebook seems to be the better one.
Yes.
The Vigilantes group is awesome. If you want to be a part of it, go to firehousevigilance.com. All the information is there. It's really turning into something pretty cool. We're having cool discussions. We're reading Jared Sergi's No Nonsense Leadership together. We're gonna get together at the end of the month and discuss it. So it's pretty. We go live. I go live once a month with the Vigilantes, and we're going to bring in a subject matter expert on electric vehicle fires and kind of talk about that a little bit.
Oh, that's cool.
It's new. I didn't want to take anything away from the weekly scrap. So the weekly scrap is its own deal. It's always going to be out there and going, but the Vigilantes is just something you can be a part of. And it's more exclusive. And so anyway, not a commercial. And then firehousevigilance.com, and the weekly scrap is on every podcast platform. You can, if you no matter where you Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, no matter what it is, it's out there. Look for it. Listen, hey, and a big thing I'm asking people to do now, because I don't do it enough, go rate it, give it a review.
Yes.
Rate it.
People do not realize how much that helps, how much it helps people find it.
Now, I've never pushed on it, but that's one of my new things I need to start doing better is saying, hey, if you like the show, rate it and leave a review.
And it does not take very long, honestly. It takes like just a couple seconds, and if nothing else, I would rather have someone rate it and forget to leave a review. Just do something, like if you have the time to, if you like it, if you can't for any reason support it in any other way, it's something that everyone can do.
My advice is leave it go to the weekly scrap, go to the Couplings podcast and leave it 5 stars. That's my advice. And then say something like Corley is a sexy beast. And then I'll know you saw it here.
Perfect. Yeah. I love that. Hold on. If you guys actually do that, I'm going to send you some stickers and some fun stuff.
I'll match it. Yeah. Hey, but do both. Taylor's a sexy beast. Corley's a sexy beast. 5 stars. It has to be 5 stars. Okay.
Yes, it has to be 5 stars.
But I'll send stickers. Taylor will send stickers. So go get stickers. We'll bribe you for our ratings and our reviews.
But you have to let me know about it, because I don't know if it actually notifies me when someone rates and reviews.
Yeah, screenshot it and send it to us.
Tag it, send it, whatever you need to do to get it to us.
Yeah, and then we'll get stickers going.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, we're so brilliant. Awesome. We're good at marketing now.
Marketing. Awesome. All right, this has been so much fun, Corley.
I had a lot of fun, Taylor. Thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for coming by and listening to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a rating and a review wherever you're listening. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Couplings Fire Podcast. See you next time, everybody.